What's happening, guys? My name is Jamie and this is the Norwich Reptile Shed, and this video is starting slightly differently because I need to apologise for leaving the last Leopard Gecko build on a bit of a cliffhanger. For those who didn't watch it, that was the waterproofing one, and we had all the vivarium ready to go, and then I had to basically stop doing videos for a while and be with my family. And during that time I was building stuff, but very slowly in little segments, and filming it, and that's going to make the start of this video slightly more abrupt because I didn't really plan exactly how the next video was going to start, so I just started filming the build. So yeah, apologies for that. There's a small disclaimer at the start of this video because in this video you're going to see me housing two of my female leopard geckos together. Now, I've done that for their entire life, ever since they hatched in an incubator in my bedroom 8 years ago maybe. Yeah, this whole build and the way these guys are kept is all based on real evidence from a paper written by a gentleman called Muhammad Sharif Khan, and he describes the leopard geckos in their natural habitat, and really goes to town showing how they live in communal groups, how they climb around on walls and burrow and all this kind of cool stuff, which is the absolute inspiration to how this build is going to end up. So yeah, I really urge you to check the link below where you can read this paper. It's pretty short and is an absolute eye-opener in the world of how we keep leopard geckos, and it's perfectly achievable to keep these guys like this. Now, what I'm not saying is just throw all your leopard geckos together. If they're males, I don't recommend it. If it's a singular male and a singular female, again, that could be quite a pest for the female if the male is constantly trying to mate. But in my case, I'm housing two females, specifically two sisters. Not that that really makes a difference, but I'm housing them together, and I've always housed them together. And with the correct size enclosure, the correct access to basking spots, hiding places, you just need to really account for these two animals to live separate lives if they need to, and it can be done safely. But yeah, please don't take this as I'm just telling you to throw loads of leopard geckos in the vivarium. So in the last video I waterproofed the vivarium, and since that video I fitted a Jungle Dawn LED light from Arcadia to help me start building the background. So the video is now going to start at that point where we're going to start the background, so sit back and enjoy the build. So ignore the mess. I have been making, doing some tests with my rocks and my bark and my, that's not bark, that's a log, and different things like that. So yeah, we're now onto the stage where I want to put a background in. Now I want to do quite a simple background because there's going to be tons of rocks, tons of soil, tons of hides. It's going to be really interesting. Doesn't really need ledges and all that sort of stuff because I'm providing all of that in other areas. This is actually a brown grout, and it goes on like clay. It's actually really nice to work with. So I've just got to let that dry now. But basically, yeah, what I do is slap it on wet, and then with the back of my hand just kind of brush along, and that helps to create these kind of divots and like grain almost. And then what we'll do is once it starts to dry, we'll hit it with a brush, a dry brush, and that will help loosen up any bits and also help create even more sort of grain and texture in it. And then we'll go back and just score a couple of cracks and bits like that before we then paint it. So yeah, that's the background for now. We will check back when it's dry. Okay, so the background is done. So let me quickly talk about the idea behind these boxes and how I'm going to deal with this. So the idea is from a paper that I've read, and it has images, diagrams on it, and I'll link it below, describes leopard geckos as being found in like rock walls, sort of like in burrows that are kind of like in crevices of rocks and bits like that, as well as being found in more forested areas as well. So my plan with this vivarium, because we've got 4 foot to work with, was to build sort of a rock wall on one side and a slightly more planted area, not tropical but planted area on the other side, and for that I can incorporate a lot of heights. So what I'm going to do to support all the other stuff and the mounds of earth that we're going to be using, I'm going to put these boxes in, and once I've figured out the decor layout, I can then drill entrance holes into the boxes and they can act as hides. And then on this side, this is going to have sandstone all piled up around it. And once I've figured out kind of exactly where I want the sandstone to be and where the cracks are going to appear and bits like that, I can then again drill entrance holes, and that just creates so many areas for hiding, for burrows and all that kind of cool stuff, rather than having to build this whole area up maybe with rock. I can really kind of build the rock around this and it still looks really cool, but it's nice and secure. Rock can't go anywhere, it can't fall over, it can't crush them because they're all in these boxes. So next thing to do really is get a bit of a rough layout as to how I want the decor to be, and then I can quickly whip that out and make the holes in the boxes and then make this all a little bit more permanent. Obviously these boxes are going to be able to come out, and I am going to have to pull this apart every maybe 6 months or whatever, depending. So everything's not permanently locked down, but yeah, it can all be sort of taken away. So yeah, but once I've drilled the holes in there, I am kind of limited. Unless I drill more holes, I'm limited to where I can put the decor and stuff. So I need to figure that out first. So let's get cracking with that. Okay, so I've had a little rethink. Also, new bit of wood, really cool, like that. But I've had a bit of a rethink. I've got one cork tube here that's got a hose tube in it, which leads into this box here, which is going to act as a hide box. But this side, because I'm gonna sort of have it quite far set back, I don't want any risk of them getting trapped in, although obviously I'm going to keep an eye on them. I've got 2, I'm going to be feeding them, and they both come out for their food, so that's not a problem. I'm gonna, instead I flip this over, I'm gonna fill this full of soil, and I'm gonna use this and this area here for some sort of bigger plants, and then this will be the only hide box here, and then maybe I could put some cork tubes. Well, I'll put some cork tubes around here which will act as hiding spots, but nothing leading really deep into there where I can't get to very quickly. So next up really, I think I've kind of got it where I want. Next up really now is to kind of put the soil in, put some plants in, bring this to life really. Okay, so I've been a busy boy since the last clip, and I've actually gone out and picked up some plants that I'm trying my hardest to recreate a forested area of Islamabad, which is where the paper that I'm basing a lot of my evidence for this way of keeping is from, and includes photos. And if you Google some, you'll see that you've got kind of rocky areas, even pine areas. So I am going to be using pine needles and things like that, but I've gone for kind of like more of like a dried area that might be open in the sun to more of like a forested area where the pines might start. So hence the greener plants, the sort of the Carexy grasses, the drier plants on this side. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with this. I do actually have some other cuttings that I'm going to be using once I've got my soil in, but really the next step is now just to mix up some more soil and then go from there. So my soil is going to be a topsoil and organic compost mix with a little bit of sand thrown in, maybe a little bit more sand over this side. But yeah, that's my plan. So yeah, let's mix some soil up. Right, so here is my soil all ready to go, and I'm gonna throw it in. So I'm gonna obviously start to build up this area, and then we need to really sort of pile it in here to help create these sort of like heavily wooded bits here, and that will help. We need to hide the plant pots. I'm going to leave these guys all in the plant pots, and so I'm going to hide the plant pots, and also create a few more sort of burrowing areas down here, and add a few more sort of branches in as well to help create that kind of root ball-y system that we've sort of started with this main piece here. Okay, so I've got the plants in, the soil in. I still need to get some leaf litter, pine needles and some bits like that that's going to really kind of finish the job off. But my next job now is to put my basking spots in, and then my UV as well. So on this build, I know I've mentioned it before, but I'm going to have 2 basking spots. I'm going to have one that's sort of situated in this area, and then I'm going to have one that's situated over here as well. And that just gives them completely free range of where they want to bask and in what environments as well. So let's go and get those sorted out. Now, believe it or not, there's actually pine trees growing in forests in Islamabad. So I've gone and got myself some dried pine needles, and I'm gonna scatter this along, as well as some oak stuff, just to add leaf litter the same way you would any old kind of bioactive naturalistic enclosure. So yeah, let's get this stuff done, and then this is pretty much the last step. And there we have it, guys. One leopard gecko vivarium complete. We've got one more thing to do, and that's add the leopard geckos. And there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for checking in on this one. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to support the channel even further, then head over to Patreon, where for £3 a month, I can feature your name at the start of each video. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.